So hey guys, who's ready for a fun, new, scary, freaking terrifying story time? Let me just get my little shill out of the way before I get into it. Hi, if you're new here, I make new videos every Wednesday, which are a story time, art topic, art challenge, topic in general, or a ramble. Just a little something something to give you guys something fun to listen to while you work, while you draw, while you're doing your homework, while you're, existing in this bad world right now. But I felt like I want to talk about this because I recently was on a Ready to Glare kick where I was showing my friend some of her videos, and her video where she was talking about this really sketchy experience of this job interview she had came up. And this actually happened to me recently. This happened back in late January, so it was before everything happened. But oh my god, guys. So this is, and I'm not being hyperbolic, I'm not being over exaggerating here. This was the most terrifying job interview I ever had. And I've drawn some stuff out because I had to like really think about it because I do have photo evidence of this and I don't want this to come back to me in a bad way. But I went to the sketchiest, scariest interview of my life in January of 2020, and this is that story. So, as I've said before, obviously before everything happened in the world of 2020, if you're watching this in the future, I was looking for part-time work to help supplement my income because while I love commission work, while I love freelance, while I love my patrons, I love YouTube, it is a hard time for a lot of creators right now. It's a hard year. And there's a lot of things I want to do. And sadly, you need money to do it. That's the world we live in. And you have to have money to make money. And while I want to do more with my stories, with my creations, with con work, and all the other kind of stuff, I need to find supplemental income. So I was looking for a part-time job, and I was in a very lucky place that I could afford to be a little picky. Especially with the fact that, not now, but we were thinking that we might be moving in October. We might be going through some different changes. And so because of that, I was like, you know what? Better to do it now. Get something that's, part-time, probably around 20 or so hours, maybe even less. Something just easy, pass my time, have some pocket cash. It's great. I know not everybody has that luxury, and I acknowledge that, but I wanted to still do my art full-time, and I can't do that if I am doing a full-time normal job. Not that art isn't a normal job, it's a different job. But so I was looking at places, and I was on Indeed, and I did email Indeed after this happened to me. So I was applying for pretty much, I needed to make sure that my rate was fair and that my thing was worth the gas because I do drive an older car, and because, like I said, I work from home mainly, I don't need a lot of gas. I have done jobs in the past, which is where I've had to work multiple jobs to where I could barely afford to put the gas in my car, which is a 99 Ultima or a 93. I don't remember. I know it's younger than me, but it's not a 2000s baby. My car is very old. But she gets me from point A to point B, and she is a gas guzzler, sadly, And so I need to make sure that whatever job I'm doing, I can afford the gas to do it because I've done jobs like that where I had to have 2 or 3 because, yay, my first job just covered my gas for the week, and then the other jobs were just for life, So looking at my fare rate, looking at my state's minimum wage, and I was able to find a pretty good amount, and I was able to do a lot of interviews, and then everything happened, so, I didn't get any callbacks, but there was this one I was very excited about. It was for a maid service, and I was excited because they offered really flexible hours. They're part-time. They allowed me to have weekends off, which meant a lot to me because weekends are the only days my husband has off, and my husband is a teacher, and so because of that, I would like to be able to spend his only days off with him. That'd be kind of nice, We've done that before, where we've had to work different shifts, and we would never really get to see a lot of time together besides living together, and that is life, so I was hoping I am in a pretty semi-luxurious spot that I can pick that, and so I was really looking forward to the maid thing, and they were very diligent. They got back to me. They did a phone interview. Everything seemed great. And then they gave me an address for an in-person interview. So I remember being very excited. I had just gotten my hair done. I had double-checked them that, tattoos and piercings and stuff were okay because at the time, I did have my ears pierced. Sadly, they got infected and they're closed now. But I do have an arm tattoo, which, if I wear a long-sleeve shirt, it does get covered. But some places are really strict about that, which I think is kind of dumb in this day and age, but whatever. As long as it's not offensive, I don't care. Anyway, so I'm going to the address because, fun fact about me, I'm terrible with directions. I need my directions to be screaming at me because I am terrible terrible with directions. So when I'm going through and I put the address in, the name of the business doesn't pop up. It gave me a normal address, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And it took me down a neighborhood, which I also thought was weird, but then I remember being like, oh, maybe it's in someone's house because it is a, you needed to have your own car and you have reliable stuff, which I did. So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, they would supply all the supplies I needed. They would pay my gas for it. I just need to be able to get from point A to point B. So I thought, okay, wouldn't be so bad. So, but I ended up not going to a house. It kept telling me to turn around. And I was like, this is weird. It keeps sending me to this cul-de-sac. And then a couple blocks down, it took me down a very sketchy alley. And I'm going to like draw a picture of what it looked like, because when I say sketchy, I mean sketchy. The buildings were dilapidated. I was literally watching another car get towed. There was almost no public parking. All the cars were parked onto the sidewalk. It was a very thin road. All that was there was some mechanic shops that I could see that had signs, and then other businesses that did not have any signs but had people working out front. And I just got a very uncomfortable, scary vibe. And I remember looking for the place, the maid service that I applied for. No signs, no nothing. The GPS wasn't coming up with anything. So I text the manager. I'm like, hi, I'm a little confused. Was the address you gave me wrong? And they're like, no, it's the same address. I'm right out front. Didn't see it. So I finally got to a point where I parked into a scary looking mechanic shop, and I put on the walk to the address, right? So, because I could not find it and I kept missing it. And I'm walking, I'm in my little, my nice little cute, not goth, sadly, interview outfit where I have my nice little blazer. I got some normal people makeup on. I'm like ready to go, but I'm a little on edge because I'm like, okay, this is a little scary. And I then see from across the street, I see 3 men in business suits, like really fancy business suits, and not in this area you would see 3 men in business suits walk out of one of the sketchy buildings, laughing at each other, walking around, and like just disappearing into the ether. It was broad daylight too, by the way. So I was like, I had no idea where their car was. I have no idea what they were doing, but there weren't any restaurants and there weren't any things around here, and they apparently parked really far away. Well, they also stood out like sore thumbs, so I'm getting a little more nervous. And then I find the business. And this was very terrifying. So it was at one point a mechanic shop, because they had the very large bay doors for you to like have a lift and, drive your car into. Everything was locked and gated. And by that, I mean it was locked and gated with like a basic lock, like a lock you get like a bike lock. And there was a sign that said that like, beware of dog. And I checked my phone and I looked around because there is no sign, no nothing. I'm looking around. My smart cell should have just turned around and left. And I literally texted my friends with a picture of the place and my direct address. And I was like, if you guys don't hear from me in an hour, here's the address and here's a photo of the place I'm walking into. I'm actually kind of scared right now because this maid service apparently had like 5 stars and had been around for a long time, but nothing was coming up. So I'm looking around and I go to call again and I hear a voice call from inside behind the bike lock gate lock. And I see a woman in there and she's like, hi, are you here for an interview? And I was like, uh-huh. And she looked at me and she smiled, didn't get up, so I didn't even get a good look at her. I could just, kind of tell. And she's like, all right, go around the building to the back of the building to do the interview. And I'm like, why can't I go through this door or the bay door? And she's like, you have to go around the back of the building. You have to go around the block to the back of the building. And my dumb ass did it. And the whole time I'm texting my friends. I'm not texting my husband because I knew if I texted Cody that he would leave work instantly and tell me to get in my car and leave, which I probably should have done. So I get there and I go out back. I don't know what was happening in my brain. I should have just left, but I didn't. So I go around the building. I go around the back of the building and then I go inside the building, right? And inside this building, I'm going to have a picture on screen because I cannot make this up. It was an abandoned building. that was at one point a mechanic shop, but not anymore. All the tools and everything are gone. And it had random, not matching office furniture. And the office furniture wasn't against any walls. It was just plopped there. Like they plopped it there as a stage. And it was very unsettling and I was very confused. But I did feel a little bit more relieved because there was another person there who also happened to be a girl who was, well, I probably shouldn't assume, but she very much passing female. She was filling out a job application. And I'm like, okay, breathe. I'm okay. And so then the lady from before, I finally get a good look at her, and she's dressed in a suit, which I was very confused by, but okay, whatever. You know, I'm dressed pretty nice, but I wasn't wearing a suit. And she comes out and she's like, hi, you're here for an interview, right? And I was like, yeah, I was on Indeed. You contacted me. She's like, okay, here, fill this out. And she then gave me a packet that was a job application. And I was very confused because they contacted me from my Indeed resume. They found me on Indeed. I did not find them. I did a phone interview. And they gave me this packet. And so I'm texting my friends while I'm waiting. And the other girl got called in for an interview, right? So I'm looking through the packet. And they were asking some very odd questions. I was very confused. I've done a lot of job applications in my day. But I've never... And I wish I had taken pictures, but I didn't. Where they asked where my childhood home was and the address. They asked me where I went to middle school. Not high school, not college. Middle school, high school, and college. They asked me what my majors in college were. This is a part-time maid service job. I understand if you are in school, usually they will ask you if you are still going or not going. And so there were a lot of places on the application I left blank because I wasn't comfortable giving them my parents' address. I wasn't comfortable giving them all of my information, such as my social security number, where I lived, where I went to middle school, a lot of other weird stuff. I brought my resume with my other jobs that were on my resume on Indeed, and they asked for my past jobs in their most recent order and why I was let go or fired, and I explained in the little boxes the best I could that I've only technically been let go from one job. The others I all quit. The one I was let go of from was because I was seasonal. Sucked, but hey, sometimes it happens. And so I am now waiting, and I'm filling it out, and I'm very confused. And I'm texting my friends still, just waiting, and then I get called in for the interview. And the interview goes pretty well, but I asked the interviewer, I'm like, hi, I'm the one from Indeed. Is everything okay? I'm a little confused that I had to fill out another application. And I did. I point blank asked. I was like, how come you needed to know where my childhood home was? And because I understand current address, you need to know where you're like tax stuff. That makes sense. But like all this stuff, and then like where I went to middle school, and she's like, oh, we just want to know a lot about our customers. And I'm like, your customer, but I'm applying to be a maid, right? And it kind of caught her off guard, and she was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, so I was already like, even if I get the call back, I'm not, didn't say that. I'm like, even if I get the call back, I'm not doing this job. Too many red flags. I should have left a while ago. And so we went through this thing. She gave me a spiel. She explained how it worked. And I was like, okay, have a great day. And we shook hands, and I left. And as I got in my car, I have never, and this thing I related to like so much in the Radio to Glare video, when she talked about like, yeah, when she's like, I like to get in my car, put on some music, put my GPS in. No, I did exactly what she did in that instance. I got in my car and I just randomly drove off. I randomly got somewhere, and then when I was somewhere safe and far away in a very public, bright setting, even though it was the middle of the day, I texted Cody everything. I sent him all the photos. And he was like, why didn't you leave sooner? The hell, something could have happened to you. And I'm like, I know. I know. And I emailed Indeed, and I talked to them about it. And they're like, okay, we'll handle it. And I never got a call back. Thank God. But I told everybody I know not to use this service and not to go to it because that was freaking terrifying. And nowhere on their website and nowhere on the Indeed thing did they say that's all this stuff you're going to go through and all this and that. And it was just, it gave me such bad vibes, and I was genuinely the most terrified I ever have been doing a job interview. And so if you guys ever get those vibes, the job is not worth it. Okay, it's not. I know some people are not in a good spot and they really need that job, but I was genuinely terrified. I don't know why my body kept reacting the way it was, and why I kept going the way I should have. I should not have. And so, there's my story time. If you guys get sketchy vibes, just listen to your gut, leave, go apply somewhere else. And yeah, don't know much what happened to it ever since because of everything that's happening in the world right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that terrifying experience I went through. And as always, guys, I will see you next time. And thank you, as always, to my amazing Patreon patrons for supporting this video. Bye.